Your fan.
Oye, Belka and welcome back to Here Be Dragons. I am your captain of the OPAS Legitimate Salvage, Stephen Stark. With me is my trusty crew, as always, First Officer Nessie, John, the pilot and technical master, and we have brought a specialist on board for this mission, a salvage mission of sorts, trying to see what we can pick out of the wreckage of these first 3 episodes. Peadar of the Inaros faction. Okay, so I'm going to start with Peadar. Will you pronounce your name for us?
Peadar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I thought I was getting pretty close there most of the time.
Yeah. I have friends that I've known since I was been 6 months old that don't pronounce my name correctly.
Well,
so the important thing for me is that people make an effort.
Right. Well, we try. We do try.
You definitely try, and I very much appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much for joining us, Peadar.
Thank you for the invite.
Yeah, so we know you because of our Expanse streams. You started showing up on Here Be Dragons chat about a year ago when we started talking about the Expanse the first time.
Yeah, I tend to stalk YouTube for the Expanse.
Yeah, you're the biggest Expanse fan I know, myself included, and I consider myself a pretty big fan. So I'm just super happy we got you to finally join us on camera to share your thoughts, to share your love. So that being said, before we actually dive into season 5, what was your journey like with this show in general?
I hadn't heard about the show until it was about halfway through season 2, I'd say. And I saw somewhere about this sci-fi show, and I watched it, and I fell in love from flip and burn. When I saw that, and I just saw that hard science fiction, and Ceres was always my favorite planet of the dwarf planet of the system, just that hard science, and I just fell in love with the world building and a lot of the stuff that people don't like about the first few episodes. I adored all that really in-depth, the Belter language, the hard physics, the mystery. I just got sucked in, and I just fell in love from the first 10 minutes of the episode, and I binged it, and I caught up very quickly, and I caught up just about the same time as, which was typical with any show I fell in love with, the cancellation was announced.
Doesn't that just figure?
So I was very, Jeff Bezos got many a tweet from me, and so I was thrilled to be part of that as well. So I do feel a sense of ownership with the show because I had the privilege of being part of that Save the Expanse campaign as well. So,
right. I didn't find the show until well after it was already saved. We fell in love with it pretty quickly. All 3 of us did, but you knew about it before us, which is why when we were like, we love the show, we're going to talk about it, you showed up and you were ready to add to the conversation from the get-go. And between your knowledge and love for the Expanse and your insufferable trolling on occasion, we came to love you as one of our own. So, Peadar, I hope you feel welcome here. And
I do, very much so.
And so let's jump into it.
Let's see what we can do about that.
Yeah. So let's just jump in, shall we? Season 5 of The Expanse. Like, the whole crew is the only two crew of the Rocinante we actually see together in the first episode is Naomi and Holden, and that's really only long enough for them to part and go separate ways. Which is a really unique thing. There are obviously other characters besides the Rocinante crew, but the core of that show has always been those four characters. So I guess I'll throw it to each of you. We'll start with John. John, did you have a character arc from the first episode? Or you know what, we'll just look at the overview of these three because we're kind of discussing all of them. We'll probably go through them one at a time afterwards. But whose arc are you loving so far?
Well, those are two different things because you did say from the first episode, but if I look at all three episodes, it's definitely Drummer because I'm really vibing with her sort of struggling with the grief for Ashford and the fact that I know this decision that she comes to stay out of it is not going to last. But at the same time, I'm excited for that, but I'm also really worried because it feels like it's setting her up for a tragic end. And I hope that's not the case, but we'll see. But otherwise, in terms of stories that start off in the first episode of the season, I'm also really interested in Amos this season. Typically I troll in my own way about your guys' love for Amos, but yeah, I'm really interested in his story this season as well.
Right on. Going clockwise, Potter.
Season 5, based on book 5, which is held in high as the best book of the series. And I even saw an interview with Ty Frank talking about how when they knew they were going to go a 9 series, the number 5 would be the pivot, the axle.
Mm-hmm.
Which all the action before and after would. So this, I was actually worried about season 4 when it was saved, because season 4 isn't that popular, and I thought, are we going to get a season? Are we going to get to book 5? Because book 5 is by far my favorite, and just the split up of the characters, you really get to know each character so well in a way that you don't get to know them as part of the team. You really get into the backstory of Amos, you really get into Naomi as an individual, Alex Alex back on Mars, and then poor Holden left brooding all by himself. And it's just Holden's brilliant in book 5 because they hint at it in the thing, but he's sick of being wrecked. He's terribly lonesome because all of his team is gone. Yet everywhere he's going, he's like, Holden, James Holden, you're James Holden. He's sick of being a celebrity, so he finds the dingiest little bar that he can hide away in while everyone is away. And they're sort of hinting at that, but even there, the crowd said, Rocinante!
Yeah.
And, but meanwhile, he's feeling incredibly lonesome because the love of his life is away on a mission, and Holden and not Holden, Amos and Alex are away, and nobody's phoning him.
Yeah. There is that scene where he's checking his messages, and there's no message from any of the crew, but there's one from Monica. Anyway, it's kind of fun. So Nessie, I'm going to ask you next, but I'll have you answer this first, and we'll all answer it, and then we'll come to you about your favorite bits so far, favorite character arc. So who would you rather have as your captain, Holden or Drummer, or insert other answer?
That's a tough choice, and I think it would depend on the mission. Yeah, Holden is very much, let's push this button and see what happens. Let's just throw ourselves right into whatever situation there is, and damn be the consequences. I mean, he's just kind of just goes out there. He just puts himself, and by extension the crew, out there. In all these situations. Drummer seems to be more analytical, cautious. Like she goes into things with a plan. She doesn't do anything like half-cocked. You know what I'm saying? She really is looking at the whole situation. Not that she doesn't engage. Obviously, we saw her very decisively engage with some pirates, and assert her authority upon them. So yes, I kind of am digging this direction that she's going in this season. Kind of, we were speculating that she's going to be coming into her own, and damn if she doesn't. She not only does she have her ship, she's got another ship. She's got basically now we've got a small armada. We've got 3 ships now, so she's become almost her own faction in the OPA.
Well, so it's pretty clear that she is too, because she's like literally extorting pirates.
Mm-hmm. She's extorting the pirates. She's taking the supplies. She's letting the colonists. She's not killing or spacing the colonists, because that draws attention. So she's being very, very smart, very cagey. So yeah, I'm getting a lot of respect for her as a captain, as a leader, as a decision maker. So that kind of is like, I'm enjoying her arc this season too. I was excited to see her and where she is and what she's doing. So it was great to, since we just talked about her in our last episode, to continue that and see where she is in this first little bits.
Right. So that you really answered two questions. You answered the question and got in your love for Drummer, and I think you're going to hear a lot of people echoing that sentiment in general from these first 3 episodes. That Drummer was really the character to watch for these first 3, at least. Mm-hmm. But Potter, so who's your captain? Holden, Drummer, someone else?
Holden won't space me.
That's true. But he might get you into some.
Drummer is more organized. She is more methodical. She's not much of. She doesn't bring the chaos with her, or tries not to. It might come to her, but like Holden, wherever he goes, he brings chaos with him. Not intentionally, not out of badness, but he definitely. You know what I mean? He definitely is always at the center of the storm. Where
part of his narrative is that he's always in the wrong place at the right time.
Yeah, what was Aberstralen? That would be a good name for his autobiography. A victim of circumstance or something like that. The drummer is utterly fascinating as well, in particular this season. Because, like, say, reading the books, there's a character, Michelle Powell, that everyone thought, okay, Drummer's probably going to slide into that role.
Except that
how much he would, and how, because like when I was reading the books, when I was reading Michelle Powell's parts, I was picturing Cara G. Mm-hmm. She just seemed to have that same forceful, because Drummer in the show is a composite of a rake of characters. She doesn't really, that Drummer doesn't exist in the books. So the Drummer they created for the show is an incredible character. It brings out some of the best elements of a variety of characters. And yeah, she's such a forceful woman, and such a rigid morality of her own, and a world view of her own. But I think she would be very. It depends because it seems to be very egalitarian ship she's running.
Okay, so yeah, I'm going to throw it to you, John. I have the same question. Holden, Drummer, or someone else, maybe?
God, that's
Yeah, okay, so the nature of this question, because I was literally the same as both of you. It depends on what I'm doing. Both, I think, are fantastic. I really do. But I agree, like, Holden is going to be the kinder of the two of them and maybe the little bit more politically savvy of the two of them, at least outside of Belter politics.
Yeah.
Plus, he's at the moment he's not suicidal, which she's not either. Please don't anybody think I'm saying Drummer is suicidal, but she's ready to, throw herself fully into danger out of her grief. Even though she's stepped back from that a little bit right now, I don't think that's going to last. Whereas, Holden's not really at that point right now, but that's what we're saying. It's like it depends on the sort of circumstance in the moment. Because like when Holden's like going half crazy from Miller in his head and stuff like that, I'm not going to choose him then. Yeah.
And when the stuff starts getting ugly, you know that Drummer is going to remain level-headed and get stuff done.
Yeah, that's true.
In a way that maybe Holden doesn't always.
Like she was pretty level-headed when she crushed her own hip. And smart.
Yeah. Just very pragmatic and just like, let's get this done. Let's do what has to be done.
This needs to be done. One of us needs to live. Bang. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah, can I just say also, because of this comment, like every time I heard Ashford's voice in these episodes, like my heart broke all over again.
Yeah. Just that bottle of scotch, man. Just her and that bottle of scotch, just so sad.
But like even in season 3, even though I knew he was wrong, I still loved him.
Mm-hmm.
I still loved his.
Well, you can understand where he was coming from.
Yeah.
I still loved his force of will that I'm willing to sacrifice myself and the people in here to save the 40 billion on the other side of that gate, not for fame or notoriety, but just because it's right.
Yeah. Because nobody would have ever known.
Yeah.
So yeah, rip. Pour one out for old Klaus.
So whenever I heard his voice or the flat, and I thought they did it very, very well. It was very powerful when they did it. And like when Drummer's on the Tynan, you can hear a callback to when the Marcos is when they're letting Marcos go, and this kid is racking her.
Yeah. Well, since we're giving her all this love right now, we'll just stay on the on that train, because this show, again, like, there's a lot of characters, but you can tell who's central and who gets a camera to follow them around. That's all the Roci crew, Abasarala, Bobby, and Drummer now, and that's pretty much it. I can't think of another character that doesn't have one of those attached to everything they're in. You know what I mean?
Like Marco probably eventually.
Okay, you're right.
The meeting, but not now, because it's meant to be. Yeah, we know what his big plot is, but like anything with Marco, it's a plot within a plot within a plot. He's all. His way of seeing things is, I'm going to attempt this mission, and if it's successful, it's a blow, but it's part of building up for an even bigger mission. You know what I mean? Like, he's always trying to escalate it.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's, as we've seen in episode 3, he's escalated pretty damn big.
Yeah,
well, it
wait
was
a
a
minute.
pretty. Go ahead.
Just so we can be clear, Bernie wants to know what day do new episodes come out.
Wednesdays, I believe.
It's supposed to be Wednesday morning, midnight Pacific on Wednesday morning. They dropped a little early this week, and I
Is it-
watched it, and it was totally worth it.
It's not GMT, because I know they dropped at 12 midnight, like GMT, like Greenwich Mean Time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So maybe that's when it's going to be. I don't know. I heard, because when I looked it up, it said it was going to be midnight Pacific.
Okay.
But then they dropped it at midnight GMT, and everybody freaked out. So yeah,
Ripples across the internet.
given that Drummer is one of the main, by the definition of she gets a camera to follow her, she is one of the main characters, and she is pretty segregated from the entire rest of the show at this point. But she's got her little sort of like, as I understand it, they are a polyamorous family unit.
Yes.
Right. So
One big style.
yeah, that's not something you see represented in media too often. But-
The way that they did it, it's just a thing. They're
Right.
not making anything out of it. It's just, this is how we live, and and just deal with it. It's background. It's there. It's, that's her support crew. It's their family, their love, but it's not like we're making a huge deal out of saying, oh, this, that, and the other. It's like everything else in Belter society. It's like, this is how we are. Deal.
Because that's straight from the books with Michelle.
Well,
And the funny thing is, one of the crew, I saw in one of the reactions, one of the crew, when you subtitles on, her name was Michelle or Michio, or the same
Yeah.
name as the character in the book,
Yeah. Yep.
which I thought was a nice touch.
it's just interesting to me to think about the fact that Belters, because of the way they live and grow up,
Mm-hmm.
crew and family are probably very nearly synonymous terms. So
Yes.
I think this sort of polyamorous relationship is a pretty natural extension of their living conditions. There's bound to not be a whole lot of privacy on, a Belter skiff or some rock hopper's rig,
No. Everybody knows what everybody's doing all the time.
Well, and you have to trust them all, and you have to believe that they're all going to have your back, and you have to have all their back. So yeah, and when you grow up from your earliest memories are of that type of a situation, you really do, I think, look at your crew in a way that none of us will really understand, except for the way we look at our families.
And also, for months at a time, those are the only people that they would have any contact with, probably.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Indeed. So so we really heaped some love on Drummer here, and it's already been almost 30 minutes into the show. I know we did intro and got to listen to Potter talk about his experience with the early show, but there's a lot to cover here. So,
but I do want to say, like, how sort of cruel was it that we didn't get her at all in the first episode? I'm like, the episode ends, I'm like, where's Drummer?
It's equally as cruel that we did not get any Amos in episode 3.
I'll get over it.
What's good for the goose?
Yeah.
But anyway.
But we got a lot of him in episode 2.
Yeah.
We got a lot of him in 1 and 2.
And what was the title of that episode, Stephen?
Churn, baby.
Churn.
So shall we talk about Amos a little bit? Because I think that first sort of sequence with him from coming into the room, interacting with his roommates briefly, telling off the guy who wants protection money. All of that is great stuff, and it's Amos doing the Amos thing. But that shot of him in the shower, where they're doing these really quick cuts between him just hanging in the shower with the water pouring on him, and he's like coming down off that adrenaline high, to the most kinetic moments of what Amos can do to you when he wants to. And they got those West Chatham crazy eyes in one of those shots too, where you're just like, oh my gosh, he's terrifying.
Yeah.
Well, you had the chance to watch the after show.
Yeah, I did. I watched all 3 of them.
No, yeah. I haven't yet. I just want to say that when you go back to watch that first episode a second time, those moments with him when he walks into the room and lays down and stuff, they read differently just because you know what he's going to. The first time through that episode, you're just kind of like, it's Amos being Amos, but he's got a lot on his mind in those moments.
One of the first things I noticed was his bag. He's bringing in Murtry's bag.
Yeah, which is
marked out, Amos written on it. It's like, I'm bearing the skins of my enemy, people. And I was just like, that's my boy. No use letting a good bag go to waste just because it's got some jerk's name on it, and and then it's just written out in Amos in red that just says, I took care of my business.
I do want to talk about this because this rather shocked me too. Like, I knew that he grew up in that environment, but the revelation that he was part of it, and then the line, once you were old enough, the Johns didn't want you anymore. Like, that's like, was so brutal to hear. I was like, I had to rewind. I'm like, wait, what? Yeah.
There had been enough sort of inklings throughout the show that I kind of thought that was the case. I mean, you look at him now, and he's this massive, muscly. You're like, who would try to mess with him? But when you're
you're not born that size.
Yeah, right. I mean,
the thing I learned with Amos is that you got very little backstory with him. But when you did, it was always important. So when he was in originally at Tycho Station in the brothel, and he's telling Alex about how sex work is more honest than most, that he grew up in this environment. Right?
Yeah. He had a room next door,
And then with Chicken Boy, when he's talking with Trax, I knew, and I hadn't read the churn at the time, and I hadn't even got to this stage. I knew that he was talking about himself when he was talking about the kids of the prostitutes being pimped out, and then
squeezing a prostitute or squeezing a sex worker to get everything out of them you can until they're done.
And then the whole I haven't felt fear since I was 5 years old when they're in the ring space. And then when we find out when he's talking about them coming in the dark when he's 5 years old, and you just know that something's horrible when you piece all those, and even the flippant, which everyone laughs about, but it's actually quite tragic when he's talking about Travis Rala saying, "Oh, just walk like you're in pumps now."
Yeah.
And
he knows.
And she says, "Oh, how would you know?" So I didn't always work in space, and we laugh about that, but that's because of the sex work.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Abasarala, that's sort of like the next stop in his journey is checking in with Chrissy.
That line, man, that's just an Amos one-off,
This is
both.
But see, no, like I knew that was coming because of the clip. The one that really sent me over was, I mean, you look like shit. You look fantastic.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, he would be down for whatever she, whatever.
Hey,
But once again, like that, we laugh about that. But what they didn't include, or they haven't thus far,
About Lydia.
Didn't include. But Lydia, who was that woman who was taking care of him in his teenage years, was sexually involved with them in the book.
and she was an older lady.
Yeah.
And an older lady. So you could see where Amos would be drawn to a powerful, attractive, influential woman like Avasarala, like sort of that.
Oh, that's like candy for him.
You don't have to have a Lydia in your life to be attracted to Christian Avasarala. Let's be honest.
But you know what I mean. Like you can see, like for a strong, stern, motherly figure. That Avasarala sort of plays. That you can see with Amos's backstory how that would appeal to him.
For sure.
Yeah.
But just he's got that great line too. You could be both.
Yeah.
And then like so there is some heavy foreshadowing that Amos is going to get into some real shit, because Avasarala tells him, if you get arrested, I'm not going to bail you out. And then he later on meets with someone else who basically tells him, I love you, but don't come back or you're dead. So there's something coming for Amos. I mean, that's Chekhov's, bail bond.
Chekhov's whatever, yeah.
That Eric scene was hilarious, though.
Yeah, I love that we get all these pass,
And they found a really great actor who had only one hand to play that part too. And and when I saw him, I was like, because I have read The Churn. It's one of the few things about from the Expanse that I have read, just because I loved Amos and I couldn't not. I'm saving the books till after this season, but what a fantastic scene between those two.
Oh man, it was great. And it is just like I would imagine their meeting after 20 odd years of them being apart. And Eric has just moved right on up in the world. He's taken the Amos Burton original, just slid right into that gangster role. And he's just like, he's living it, it's just like I imagined. It's just like the meeting was just like I imagined it would be.
Because the thing with Eric was that he's not a brawny gangster, but he was the brains behind
the brains, yeah. He was always brains.
So he was controlling everything. That's why he had all of basically the virtual identity of Amos Burton, available to give to Timmy.
So, just sort of as an aside, we did skip over him meeting with Lydia's husband too,
Charles.
Charles. And that was a beautiful moment for him too, because he walks in there going, what the hell happened to Lydia? If somebody did her dirty, that person is going to die. That's what he came here to do.
Yeah.
And then he finds out none of that is necessary, and he ends up actually connecting with this man when the man begins to show that remorse, that grief over the loss of Lydia. Amos actually reaches out and puts his hand on him, and that's what prompts him to go find Eric to say, let the old man keep the house.
Yeah.
Amos's story is about a psychopath learning how to be a human, and this is a big step for him,
He's on his own and doing right things,
Is that
things? I mean, he's beating the crap out of the shakedown people. He's beating up the street pusher to get to see Eric, which fantastic scene too, where the guy shows his gun and Amos is just like, you don't even know who you're messing with.
He just takes it.
Stop hitting me.
But the funny thing is that that's sort of an underlying theme of this season so far is sort of that aloneness and dealing with these personal struggles without the team.
Yeah, he's gone back to Baltimore.
Yeah,
and the weight of everything. The shots of Baltimore are just wonderful.
They talked about how they did that in one of the after shows about that shot where you're flying in from the ocean into Baltimore, and then you kind of get over the city, and then you come down, and then you find him on ground level. That is actually a composite of 3 real shots from a helicopter, a crane, and then a ground-based Steadicam guy, all sort of like seamlessly edited together.
Yeah, I continue to be impressed by how big this show feels. You know, since the move to Amazon, it's just, I mean, it's just enormous, and you know, however they did that, it looked impressive as hell.
Yeah, that shot is literally Amos coming down to Earth.
Well,
to his home, to where his roots are, and
that shot ends with us on Amos, kind of walking through this area in Baltimore, and it's just really cool that the Baltimore of 200 years in the future looks like the Baltimore of 2020, except there are holographic signs on some of the buildings, and the waterfront is half gone. You know,
and people outside.
And the funny thing was, what's his name? Charles, Lydia's partner.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, played by Frankie Faison, and he's
from The Wire.
Yeah, he's from The Wire.
Yeah, he's such a phenomenal actor, and he did really great in this part.
Oh, I thought so too. There was a lot of heart to him. Like, we never see Lydia as a character. We don't. Well, that's not true. We see her in some of aspect, but like you got his genuine emotion and his grief over the loss of Lydia. So I appreciated that very much.
Yeah. And that little scene, that scene between the two of them where, he's gotten into some kind of a fight or something, he's been in a scrape of some kind. We don't know what happened. We just know something happened. And he and Lydia are there's having that heart-to-heart talk. He's like, she's being that motherly figure, even though she's who she is. It's like, I'm going to pretend to be this person. I'm going to pretend to be your mother, a good person, and to give you guidance. And you try to pretend to listen to me and take the advice that I'm giving you. Like, none of this is real, but we're going to pretend that it's real,
What's the old saying? Fake it till you make it.
Right. But I mean, it's just the two of them, the two of them against everything that they have to go through. So you see how, the closeness that they had.
Yeah.
And I just like the whole bit in Baltimore. It just felt so real and lived in. Like, you could go there, you could get a train and go visit that. You know what I mean? But like, even all the small little details, just about like how crowded the streets were.
Well, it looked like a city you could walk around in today.
Yeah.
Except for the few advancements to the people that live high in the ivory towers,
Yeah, not in downtown, not in the projects, not where Amos is from.
Right. Oh, God, stealing my logo, huh? I'll allow it.
On this stream, we're all here be dragons, Steven.
Right. Good. So yeah, we're taking 20 minutes a character. We're going to go over 2 hours today. It's almost for sure. So that being said, is there anything else to say about Amos right now? or shall we just wait and pick him up when he becomes relevant again?
It's just I just wanted to, like, I think it's very telling though that he's sitting there on that pier looking at the ships leaving, like he probably did when he left originally.
Yeah.
And it was just such a beautiful scene. You just see the ships going off in the distance.
Yeah.
And it was just such a powerful, powerful scene. And then picking up the phone and phoning up Chrissy.
Okay,
Chris?
so
Yeah.
I did think of one more thing I wanted to ask the panel. And Peadar, given that you are read through the entire series, maybe you know the answer to this. Please don't spoil us if you do.
I won't. I'm being very, very tight-lipped, or I'm trying to be at least.
He decides there is someone else he needs to talk to before he leaves, and he needs Avasarala's help to locate that person. Who do you think it is? Because
I know who it is.
Oh, you know who it is because you've read it, because you got content.
No, and not from the books. Not from the books, because we saw him having a phone conversation with someone on Earth.
See, that's the only person I could think of is the person you're talking about.
That's the only person he knows on Earth.
You're right. That's what I think.
I don't even know what you guys are talking about, and I'm happy that way. So please don't say anything more.
Okay. Well, you don't want me to guess who it is?
What? No, don't do that, because then if you're right, I'm gonna know, and I don't have a clue. I want it to remain a surprise.
Okay, that's fine. Right. I think we're all on the same page, because that's the only name I could think of. Anyway,
but Trump, obviously.
Well, oh my God, hold on.
He's going to go to Florida to the library.
You are taught a lesson, Peadar.
For what? Hopefully he beats the shit out of him.
He mentioned the T word.
It's probably underwater. Miralago is probably underwater.
If he's going to go give that man the Amos treatment, I'm pro. I'm pro. Okay. Anyway, I just look. You're an insufferable troll, Peadar, and we love you for it. So I don't know, you have the good nature.
This chat. We take my Expanse very seriously.
You are not insufferable. You are a sufferable troll. Yeah, but it's definitely someone who has someone very high up in the government, and the only person that Amos knows, of course, is Chrissy. You know, that he's going to need to have, pull some strings so he can speak to that person. It's not, a friend from the block.
Right. Anyway, so that's fine. Let's talk about another character. Okay.
Well, let's talk about Chrissy.
Let's talk about Chrissy. She is having a really hard time adjusting to life as not the Queen of Earth.
But before we do anything else, like my favorite line, because it was complete bullshit, where it was, "I've learned how to listen." It's like I had the same reaction as the other. It's like, no, if the situations were reversed, you wouldn't be listening to anybody.
I'm really liking her this season, though, because I didn't like her for most of season 4, because she was shoehorned because she wasn't in book 4. She sort of shoehorned in, and then I thought they were really playing fan service to the foul-mouthed Avasarala. He was swearing every second word, not because of the surgical and brutal tactical way she swears, but just because people liked hearing her drop the F-bomb.
Yeah.
I sort of felt that in season 4, but by the end, those last few, like from the not the funeral, but the memorial service, and the leaking of and then the concession speech, that was the real Avasarala to me. And that's carried over into season 5.
Yeah, in season 4, she was, fighting for her political career. now that she's lost that fight, we're seeing her kind of like she's promoted, or not promoted, but she's given a desk job and an out-of-the-way place to keep her shut up and quiet.
A bit of an
she's trying to completely be herself, and in the last season, she was always having to put on a performance every second. So,
yeah.
Fair point.
The bit of an insult, though, the job being sort of the head of doing exactly what she opposed doing.
Yeah, it's your job to facilitate people going through the ring gates.
Yeah.
You know, that thing you campaigned to not happen.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah.
I mean, that's kind of like adding insult to injury,
Yes.
you know? And you see she's struggling because she doesn't have any friends left. You know, she's burned all of her bridges. She's used up all of her contacts. She's, you know, gotten through all of her favors. So the only people that she has left are, you know, she's got Bobby working for her, who Bobby doesn't have anybody left either. So, you know, the two of them doing their little side mission, you know, Avasarala can't keep her fingers out of politics. She can't keep her fingers out of, you know, she can't stay in her lane. It's not possible.
Well, and it takes me back to something Fred Johnson was saying to Holden in the first episode. You know, you've got things. Go make a life. You don't have to say, you're not responsible for the entire universe. But that's a lesson Holden is probably never going to learn. I think it's also a lesson Avasarala is never going to learn, which is one of the reasons that they.
But like, I'm glad they don't learn it because
like,
they're right. So,
I mean, what would she do? Sit at home and bake cookies for her grandkids? I mean, that's great for a Saturday afternoon, but what does she do with the other 6 days?
I mean, it's like, the thing is, like, Fred Johnson is giving Holden that speech, but he's being kind of an idiot because he thinks that he can control the protomolecule, which is a very foolish position or position to be in, and you know, and thing to be thinking, because you can't. We've seen that over and over and over.
Well, you can't put the genie back in the bottle.
Yeah.
You know? And
very nearly killed, though, if it wasn't for that one sample. Like, you know, I mean, it's, they wiped it out on Ellis, and he's sort of keeping a pet genie alive.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I kind of love that Avasarala has the detective role in the series now. Like, she's on a hunt to find out the truth about things and to take the clues and piece together what's really happening.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, she's on to Marcos, you know. She's
oh my God. Like, how good though did it feel when she got sent that recording at the end? It's like,
yes.
Yes.
Because she had reached sort of the end, you know, she had no more, you know, no more cards to play. And so that happened. I'm like, yes.
You know, so she's kind of got half the clue. She's got a little bit of clue going on. Something weird happened to this scientific ship around Venus. Why is it always a scientific ship around Venus? I don't know.
Dude, just don't take a science ship to Venus in this show. Don't do it.
Just don't do that.
I think they did that very well at the beginning, even though a lot of people didn't get it. They didn't quite get.
No, I understood exactly what was happening.
That was a ballsy move on Marco Inaros's part to send that strike team so deep down the inner's throat, you know, and do that Mission Impossible, you know.
all of that so that they would not be able to figure out that was an asteroid that got chugged to Earth with Martian stealth tech wrapped around it. They could not afford for Earth to start looking for them.
Yeah, I didn't realize that they had put in this the stealth tech that they had been purchasing that was to be coated around that asteroid until that episode, and I'm like,
I heard that science ships around Venus are entirely crewed by former professors of Defense Against the Dark Arts from Hogwarts. Yeah. Anyway, worked in a Harry Potter reference into an Expanse conversation.
well, that's a bad job to have anyway, let alone putting them on a science mission around Venus. That's like
Right.
that's like the death knell right there. It's like they're all red shirts.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Aemy said the same thing. Don't do science missions. It's basically the same as being a red shirt. There is some truth there, my friend.
But a lot of it, I watched a couple of reactions, and they didn't get. They're like, "Oh, breaking apart. That's probably going to do more damage." How did they planned it to break apart? It's like, no, that was the screw.
No, actually, so those rocks, they're big, and 21 megatons is a lot. It's a city killer, but it is not like a kill the dinosaur.
A dinosaur killer, yeah.
It's not an extinction level event.
But nine of
them is going to do some serious damage. When you talk about a 13-kilometer vaporization radius, I mean, that's a lot of damage, but like it's just one city.
Yeah, that's what the great glowing thing in the sky is here. That's the asteroid that's headed towards.
And what a beautiful way to shoot that incoming shot too. I guess this is connected enough to Avasarala's story that we can say it, but the shot of like the Sentinel satellites in space, and you see it just go like shoot right past them, and it basically. So I dug into it and I found out that it's off the coast of South Africa, and if you look at the map, it looks like it's very close to Vredenburg, South Africa, on the west coast of South Africa, and
so Indian Ocean, yeah.
It hit just off the coast, and that means that city probably doesn't really exist anymore.
Because I think in the book it was.
Oh, you know what? I just want to bring this up too, because we're talking about episode 3 a little bit. We get the triumphant return of Miller in this episode.
Yes, he directed it.
Yeah, Thomas Jane directed this episode, and I
saw that on the screen, and I just got a big smile on my face.
Yeah, I didn't realize it at the time. I found out because I watched the after show that Ty Frank and Wes Chatham are doing, and they had Thomas Jane on as a guest for that episode, and it was by the way, if you haven't seen those, go watch them. It's really great. They discuss the story somewhat, but if you're a fan of the more technical aspects or philosophical aspects of filmmaking, go watch that.
Yeah, my favorite. I've only seen the first one, but when they're talking about that fight scene, because seemingly they spent a whole day filming that fight scene. It was a big, elaborate, highly choreographed fight scene, and then like West and all of them found out that the showrunners had cut it down to like 10 seconds. And just those still shots. And it's like, and they're like, if it was a big fight scene, it would just be a big dramatic fight scene. But this was a demonstration of the inner turmoil that was going on in Amos, and it captured that so well.
Yeah.
And it was a beautiful scene.
Yeah.
And excellent use of a toothbrush.
Yeah, but you're right. They had a huge long fight scene that they were just like, it doesn't work, so they chopped it up and intercut it with him in the shower, and it just worked so well.
Perfect. It was so perfect.
Yeah, but so
I really like the irony of the use of the asteroids against by the Inaros faction against the Earthers. It's kind of like, I mean, in a way, it's like David and Goliath, you know, little rock, big giant, you know, that kind of thing. And two, in, you know, the type of, I don't want to, you know, bring a lot of American politics in it, but you think about the countries that we have been at war in for the last decade, you know, the past 2 decades. The, you know, the populace, they'll, you know, they don't have a lot. What do they have? They've got rocks. You know, they'll throw rocks at the soldiers. They'll throw rocks at a tank or whatever, just because that's all they have. You know, this beaten down people. You know, so it's kind of like a major symbol of the underdog, taking a rock and throwing it at, you know, the armor, the soldier, the tank, the giant, and taking them down with a rock. Just the irony. And
there's another layer to it too, though, because belters exist because Earthers want those resources. They want those rocks.
Yeah, if you want a rock, I'm going to give you a rock.
Here you go. Here's the stuff you've been asking for. You know, express delivery.
Like there's two brilliant bits of foreshadowing that Avasarala is sitting there on the roof with the grandson.
Way back in like episode 1.
Yeah. This is the callback.
Talking about how I don't like people that throw rocks and the shooting stars happening, and then Uncle Mateo. It's like, oh, what can I do to you? Throw a few pebbles at you.
Man, that idea has been there since the beginning.
Yeah.
It's been building and building, and then the whole near miss with arrows. You know, it's been building. It's been building this whole time, and it's finally happening. You know, it's been Chekhov's meteor ever since episode 1.
And I've just been waiting for this. But like, say the dock scene on Ganymede, like so many reactions, so many people are saying, "Oh, I'm totally behind." You know, totally a belter, totally behind the belter cause. You know, I mean, after that scene, they're so moved by that, and all I could think of is, "You haven't met Marco yet."
You're right.
Yeah.
And it's just so that grayness of the Expanse is what makes it so powerful. And Bull, which was a nice nod to one of the characters that makes up Drummer.
Bull, as we saw him, we saw that little when they called him. I'm like, what? That's Bull? What? I thought we weren't going to see him.
It was part of the composite, one of the composite characters that went into making the Drummer character.
Yeah, her plot line.
But when he turns to Fred Johnson, goes, "Your problem is you always think the underdog is a good guy."
Yeah, that was a good line,
and it was just very, very powerfully delivered. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess I want to turn the focus back to Avasarala for a moment. Because for all of her getting shut out and, you know, being Gao saying, like, I'm not interested, you don't even have to be in these meetings if you don't want to, and all that, and kind of being shut down every time she tries to divert resources to hunting for these rocks. You know, everybody keeps telling her no. But she just got proven right. So I look forward, I hope, to a shift for her character in the next episode, because all this stuff that she's been warning about, and they've been going like, you're just a paranoid old, you know, has been. Well, guess what? She's not paranoid. She's right again.
All I can think of is, what if one of them hits right outside New York?
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say, she might not have anyone to say, "I told you so," too.
You know, we see her daughter, and she's visiting and what have you. So I assume that her grandson is there too. But her husband is very much still on Earth. Went back to his old job at the university, professor. So
Mom says, hey, all of us wise older ladies love to say, I told you so. So that is, at least as far as my mother is concerned, an absolute truthful fact. She does love to say, I told you so.
It's like, do you think that at this point with that recording, the gal relents? And
I think there's a good chance she'll listen, but Christian might still be out of the loop.
I think it's too late. It's like Avasarala gets the pieces together, but is it too late? Because as that, the rocks just hit.
Yeah, I think there's at least one more hit coming. I think there's at least one more rock coming that will hit.
At least
one more.
I just I see her going to go with this, and for another Harry Potter reference, her going, he's not back. Sorry.
So, it's the whole Voldemort thing with Marco.
Yeah.
So is there anything else to say about Avasarala? We're kind of going through it character by character instead of plot threads or what have you, but
I'll just say that I got really one of those things where I love when like a movie or episodes of a TV show give me this feeling at the start of the third episode when she's meeting with her colleague. I don't remember the character's name. The
Admiral.
Admiral. Right?
No, that's not it.
I'm gonna look. I'll find out.
But it's when they get to the end of the scene and she's like, "We're right, we are," and then it cuts to the credits. It just gives this this adrenaline sort of feeling of, they're on the trail. They're so close, and it was just a really great way to open up the episode, and then that despair at the end when he says, I can't go any further, which, was such a cop out because it's like he knows they're on the right trail, but he's worried about his political career. But like, what does that matter in the face of Armageddon? So
his character is called Admiral Delgado.
Delgado, that's right.
The cat.
The cat.
Yeah, so the fact that moment is immediately followed by her getting that recording is why it's such a
and it's not so great. Nessie, it's not Gato, it's Delgado.
Oh.
Not Delgado. There is a difference. Hey Rock, how you doing, my man?
Doing great.
Right on. So I think we're just over an hour in. I think this is a good spot to go ahead and we'll do the mid-roll and we'll come back and just keep loving on the show. What do you say?
Sounds like a plan.
All right, fantastic. Well, for those of you who are here live, we want to extend a hearty thank you. The live viewers in the chat are what really set this format apart. So I'm always really thankful for everybody who's here live. If you watch it afterwards, hey, we really appreciate you too. Maybe you should try to join us live if you enjoy what's going on over here. We really hope that you can. We will be covering the Expanse again in the not too distant future. We're going to let a few episodes stack up. But in the meantime, next week, come back for our wrap up of The Mandalorian. I don't even know that I've told my co-hosts this, but the week after that, I may not be here. My older brother is getting married that Saturday, so trying to be home and in the right headspace that Sunday night just might not happen for me. So John and Nessie, I'll leave the keys on the counter for you. You can use them if you want.
Are you going to sneak back in again this time, Steve?
I really hope so.
I'll try not to have such an instinctual reaction this time.
Yeah. Put on a good face for me, man. So yeah, if you have not liked and subscribed, please hit that little thumbs up button, hit the red subscribe button, ring the bell so you get notifications. Also want to shout out our patrons. You guys are helping pay for the new computer, which will, I promise you, be bringing you more Froda. I meant to do it this week. It was just been a week of a lot of chores, getting stuff ready. My teenage daughter is here for the Christmas holidays, so yeah, I just didn't have the time to get into that. Hopefully this next week and the week after and all that, we'll get back into some more Baldur's Gate 3. So Nessie, what's coming up next over there on the Unspun Yarn?
Well, I've got a fairly busy schedule, things planned out. I guess having a co-host will kind of make you get things in order as she does. On December 30th, we've got the next episode of BTP coming up. We've got some great guests lined up. We have Lo the Lynx, who will be joining the channel for the first time. And also ITM, Ian Thomas Malone, is also going to be joining us. They are going to be discussing transphobia and turfism, which should be a very good episode. Also, on the 14th, my co-host from Here Be Dragons, John, is going to be coming on my channel, and we are going to be discussing some Arthurian content. We're going to be doing Merlin and the archetype of the magician. It'll be part one of a two-part series, I think, because there's so much to cover there, and that's going to be a very magical episode. And then friend of the channel, Aaron M, excuse me, got Amy on the brain. Aaron M is going to be coming on the 27th of January, and we're going to be having another magical episode where we discuss Morgan Le Fay. So we've got that lined up for January. So Come on down to the Unspun Yarn.
You're in an Arthurian bent right now, a lot.
Yeah.
And I am here for it, because you just did Monty Python and the Holy Grail last week, and y'all, what fun was that? How much fun was that stream, Nessie? It was so good.
That was phenomenal. Phenomenal.
And
we took a clip of the first 5 minutes, and I tweeted it out there. And if you haven't seen it, you need to see. If nothing else, you need to watch the fantastic entrance that my guest.
I just want to know how Dan fit a horse in the room.
Yeah, it was really.
I really don't know.
Impressive.
I don't know how he got a coconut in England, because that's a temperate climate.
Perhaps you grip it by the husk.
Apparently, but if you've got a few minutes to spare and you don't have 2 hours to spare, at least watch that clip. The first 5 minutes. It's the funniest thing you're going to see on the internet.
Yeah. Speaking of great streams that happened this week, John, last night you pulled off something kind of epic. How long is that stream from yesterday?
Yeah, so last night we did a discussion of The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King, to finish off our 3-week journey through The Lord of the Rings. We went for 4.5 hours. It was me and my co-host, Amy Blackfyre, along with Helen the Clueless Fangirl, Dan from Voice of Geekdom, Aaron M., and Kelly, Jaded Redhead. We had an absolute blast, and yeah, I don't think we'll ever go that long again, because the thing is, like, we went so on talking about, we didn't even cover everything that's in the film. That's what's so insane, but we dug into a lot of sort of, the books and the lore of Middle Earth, along with discussing the film. So if that sounds appealing to you at all, please go ahead and check it out. And of course, the 2 weeks before that, we did Fellowship of the Ring and Two Towers. And my co-host right here is saying we better not go that long again.
Yeah, so real quick, John, what's coming up in the future for you then?
Yeah, so this next weekend, we're moving back to 7:00 p.m. So then it'll be on Saturday at 7. We're doing the Muppet Christmas Carol. And then the week after that, we're going to be covering Wonder Woman 1984. And so we're in the process of lining up guests for both of those streams. So, I hope you guys stop by. We're going to have a blast.
I dare you to make the Muppet one longer than.
No.
Yeah, a 5-hour Muppet stream. I'm here for it. Potter, hey, what are you up to, man?
Nothing much. Just working over Christmas and making plans for the new year. I'm not creating any content online at the moment, but who knows what's.
Well, I think you could make some great Expanse stuff. You've got a lot of really interesting insights. You clearly love the story and the characters a lot. So I would be here for that. But yeah, as I know, as of right now, you do not do content creation. You're not really on social media. Getting you to join our Slack group was like twisting somebody's arm. But I'm super glad you did decide to join us. So,
and I'm super glad I did.
Everybody give a round of applause to Potter. This, I believe, is your first ever live stream. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So starting careers over here at Here Be Dragons. So I hope everybody is looking forward to all that content we've got coming up for you. I did mention the patrons and did not do the Patreon shout outs. So before I forget a second time, we're going to say thank you to our High Council of Lord John Bronsteen the Wise, Sir Maura Lee of Starfall, Sixto Sounds, a.k.a. JP the Axe Grinder, and of course, ridiculous Ed Tollett, the Alpha Patron. And they are attended by the lords and ladies of our realm, Lady Leaf Underhill, and Aemy Blackfyre, lover of poles. Thanks so much to our patrons. You make it easy on me to keep going. You really do. We love you guys. Anything else that we can think of needs to go into the mid-roll? I can't think of anything.
I just want to mention that this Tuesday at 5:00 p.m. I will be on my co-host Aemy Blackfyre's channel, and we are going to be talking about basically. What am I trying to say?
I know what the topic is, and it's a good one.
Gender stereotypes. There we go, and how they affect the kind of media we consume. So please stop by and give that a watch. It'll be her first time going live with a guest on the channel. So please tune in for that.
Yep. You guys have a really great dynamic between the two of you as well. So I'll look forward to that one. What else? Oh, if you know what this means, you know what this means. If you don't, that's okay. Green team, we're getting together tomorrow. Red team, we're getting together Wednesday. Anyway, I digress. Shall we expand?
Salmon swims east in March.
Right.
This Native American is going to go dances with difficulty on everybody. I gotta go.
Later, Rod.
Later.
This guy.
Him up and about again.
Yeah.
Okay. So, shall we the Expanse talk about? Who have we not talked about? Okay, so we have covered Amos and Avasarala and Drummer. So that still leaves most of the Roci crew, and I also think we should talk some about Bobby. So,
no doubt.
So, shall we go for? You know what? I'm just going to call it audible. Let's talk about Naomi, because I really am feeling Naomi this season in a way that I haven't in the past. I've always enjoyed her as a character in general, but the thing that she's going through right now has my heart breaking for her so much.
Well, see, but that's the thing. Like, I think she's giving an utterly fantastic performance this year, and the story is really good. It's so hard to watch her go through it. I was watching and I was like dreading every step of it. because it's like, oh, this is going to be uncomfortable.
It was.
Yeah.
Only it didn't want to know the end, because how could the end be happy?
Yeah.
I'm with you, man.
Well, it's another one of those little plot threads that's been teased, for the last several seasons. It's time to pick up that thread and see where it goes.
And CQB with I never got a chance to say goodbye. In the fourth episode of season 1, and Amos says, "To whom?" And Seiko doesn't matter. And you're wondering who's she talking about.
Yeah.
From that moment onwards,
they really layered it in really slow with her. Like you don't even know what caused her to leave until darn near the end of season 4. And then here in season 5, we literally see a monument on Luna
I was about to say that, but
to the ship that she and Marco blew up together.
Okay, thank you. Because I'm not as well versed in all the things, I wondered what that was, and I knew it was a reference. I just wasn't remembering. So thank you for filling that in. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And did you notice that it's Level City on?
Yeah, the name rings a bell.
So Jim Lovell was the commander of Apollo 13. If you ever watched the movie Apollo 13, that's Tom Hanks' character is Jim Lovell, which I thought was a really nice nod. It's this show continues to do that.
I wonder if it's on the dark side of the moon.
It might be. I don't know if we ever saw Earth. Right, the backside of the moon is what you. Yeah, but I guess I didn't notice if you could see Earth from there or not. But But she goes to Fred Johnson finds Philip. He's on Palace Station. And off to Palace Station she goes, and of course Holden is like, "I'm coming with you."
Let's do this.
And why would any of us expect literally any different from him? Of course he's going to go. But then she is absolutely right when she tells him, "You literally can't go with me. I can't risk it. You're James friggin' Holden. You're famous and you're an inner and you represent everything Marco Inaros hates. Just you literally being there makes it 10 times harder for her."
And she also probably wanting to shield him a bit from that part, because she probably knew that she'd probably have to be chummy with former colleagues, former comrades.
I mean, I don't disagree with anything that's being said, but it also doesn't work out for her well as it is. So I can't help but wonder, his second offer is to basically stay aboard the ship and stay out of sight, which we can debate about whether that would have actually worked. But still, in the situation she finds herself at the end of the episode, that might have been a little helpful.
It probably would have ended up the same, but with probably him dead.
Yeah, they'd have spaced him. No question. He'd have taken a short walk out of an airlock.
Yep.
So in her face,
I think it was naive, the typical Holden naivety, sort of in the, "Well, I'll just hide on the freighter and I just want to be there for you," which is perfectly noble, but just it's like, I'm entering a far dirtier world than that, and you just don't fit into that world.
Holden is such an idealist. He just thinks his smile and good intentions are going to get him through a lot of things.
And there's great humor in the season.
Yeah. And you would think that he would be savvy enough by this time to understand. Well, and honestly, he does get it because he doesn't. It takes Naomi 2 minutes to convince him that he can't go, and from that point on, he's just, all right. I'm going to hold my lover until she leaves because that's what she needs right now, which is,
And she wasn't like completely honest with him either. She said she booked passage on a freighter. She didn't say, hey, I bought a freighter.
I literally bought a whole dang ship.
I just spent $1 million or whatever.
Because there's a fair bit of splashing of cash between.
I just think that it's basically what I said before the season started, that I think she's going to have a huge blind spot where her son is concerned, and that turned out to be right.
Yeah, it did, but then, like,
sort of impossible not to.
Yeah. And what if
it's just, but her doing this alone was not a good decision. It's,
Yeah, I agree. I think she could have done it with someone who wasn't Holden.
Okay.
I'm going to, again, Holden, by the very nature of who he is, complicates things when you're dealing with other belters. He can very much complicate things.
Yeah.
If you'd have shown up with someone like, I don't know, drummer, like I predicted, and I'm clearly wrong about, from our, we talked about it last week, and I predicted drummer and Naomi would go after Marco together, and that certainly hadn't happened yet, but
somebody's got to go rescue her.
She might rescue herself.
That's true. They might still bring him down together,
Yeah.
But yeah, she's kind of stuck like Chuck right now.
Yeah, she is. Although she's extremely smart and very resourceful, and she's not she's not going to give up. She's not going to give up on Philip or herself, which is.
But these are also people like, say, the guy in the team, like the two people there. One you can see obviously knew her from before and viewed her as a betrayer. Then the other one saw her as an old friend. So even then, that dynamic she's entering into is going to be a very complicated one as well.
Yeah. And Philip threw off one line there that kind of has me intrigued, because he's like, you're everything my mother said you were.
Father.
No, I think he said mother.
No, he said father.
Father. Okay, I stand corrected. But I thought there was some reference to some other woman that raised him. No. Okay. Whoops. I need to put on the subtitles.
Hey, I've been known to have to do that myself. Especially if sometimes those belter accents are just hard to understand.
And like, that was filled with sort of frustration for me, but also like understanding, because it's like, she hasn't seen her son, all this time, but like part of me was like, come on, speak up for yourself here. It's, it's not as simple as you just walked away, it was that, hey, your father who you idolize actually took you from me. So yeah. So I wish she had stood up for herself a bit more, but understandable, given, under the circumstances.
She feels enormous guilt.
Yeah. Well, and you can tell that because she's sitting in the bar, empty glasses in front of her, playing Clash of Clans on her phone or whatever it is she's doing when Philip walks in. And what a powerful moment where he walks in, studies her for a moment, and then just starts to walk out like, I came by, I saw, I've got nothing to say to you. But she tells him just enough. And of course it comes back to bite her, because as she's going to leave, here comes Philip, and I believe the character's name is Sin, is the older man that she's friends with.
I didn't catch the names of the crew, like of the gang.
And I think the other one is Carol. I'm not sure 100% how to pronounce it. It's written Karal. But, you know, they're going to take it. The Inaros faction just grew by one ship. Philip's got his own ship now. And, you know, I just, that's the Sin character is eventually, he's going to be the one that helps save Naomi, because you can already see he's got that, you know, he's got ties to her. He tells her he's sorry when he's about to throw her off the ship. He is sympathetic to her when they're at the bar. The other character, Carol, is really not so much.
No, she looks like she knew Naomi from before, but felt betrayed by her leaving.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the feeling I got. Like, that's not from the books or anything. I don't remember. You know, that's from that the few exchanges we saw on the screen on the show.
Yeah, and we, you know, by Sim being an older character, you kind of feel like maybe he knew like all of them when they were much younger. You know, he was kind of like maybe an older mentor figure or father figure, older brother figure. You know, they kind of looked out for the younger ones, and that's the kind of like big brother kind of love that he's kind of expressing with her. Like he's so glad to see her because he thought, you know, maybe I'd never see you again before I die, kind of thing. It's, and talking back about, you know, how the Belters and their crew, they're all like family. So this at one time they were all a family, you know, and nobody can fight like family. Some of them are actual family, but you know what I'm saying? Nobody can love like family, and nobody can hurt like family. So those cuts run deeper.
Well, and
the Carol figure comes across as a pissed off sister.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Yeah. Like she probably helped raise Philip. You know, you left. You know, I was there when he was sick. I was there when, you know, he took his first steps, or he said his first words, and, you know, I was there for all of his firsts. Where were you?
Yeah. I also really appreciate just.
I mean, I'm sorry, but that's like, I just, that whole thing, it's like, you know, Naomi did not just walk away. And even if Philip doesn't realize that, you know, the others realize that, you know, it was not, you know, Naomi's choice to leave without her son.
Well, it's, you know, it's kind of like being part of a cult.
Yeah, but she walked away from their cause as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not just her son.
A terrorist cause. I'm sorry, I'm not really feeling any sympathies towards the others. So
they're still in that mindset,
which is why they're so upset about it. But I also think, I just wanted to say how great Dominique was in the scene where Fred is handing her the info about Philip. Like,
yeah, that
you can't even look at it at first.
My heart broke for her.
Yeah.
In that moment.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just, kudos. This show is, they do not skimp on actors or production or writing or special effects. You know, like, it's a top-notch show, and you always hear people keep wanting to come back, and it comes through in those type of scenes where.
Yeah.
Aemy, I do just want to comment. They're murderers, because the first episode starts off with them shooting a bunch of scientists at point blank range. So yeah, it's not a point of view thing. They're actual murderers.
Yeah, those were non-combatants.
Red shirts.
Yeah.
Scientists doing science things.
Right. They were studying defense against the dark arts.
Earther scientists. They were gonna. Devil's advocate.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, is there anything else to say about Naomi?
just what kind of trouble is Philip gonna get into
Okay.
with that ship now? You know?
Okay, I'm going to address this. Thousands of Belters have starved to death. Those scientists had nothing to do with that. Most of them have nothing to do with it. There are people on Earth who are starving because of the ineptitude of the logistics and government. You cannot justify killing this person for what that person did. And I'm never going to agree with anybody who sees it any other way.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it is what it is.
I mean, even most of the Belter factions are kind of like, there's the central factions, and then there's Marco. So.
Oh, I see. I don't know. I see. But like, you are not the first person who has said something along those lines. People have tried to argue on behalf of the Belters, and I'm like, or on behalf of like Inaros, and I'm like, no, sorry.
No, it's like I'm on board with some of the Belters. Like, obviously, I freaking love Drummer, you know, and obviously we love Naomi, who's a Belter. But no, the Inaros faction. I'm sorry, I'm like, screw every single one of them.
Yeah.
Even Klaus was like, F that guy. And Klaus is a Belter's Belter, and he's just like, screw that guy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but I think I don't know how to change names. Sort of, it's the nail on the head for what other people are saying, though, is that you might not agree that they might not agree with what they're doing, but they can understand the motivations and what is pushing towards.
Right. And I'm totally there. Like, the Belters have it as bad as almost any humans ever had since the dawn of time, very nearly. I mean,
but there are those who don't resort to outright murder.
Right.
So.
Yeah, that's never. There is no justification for that. Anyway, I think it's a worthy conversation to be had. I guess we're just going to cancel Aemy because she's pro Inaros.
And she clearly said that she's pro murder.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know what else can be said.
Right.
I don't even know who she is anymore.
Yeah. Anyway, I digress. Shall we talk about another character?
Sure.
We've got Holden.
To cut Aemy some slack, do you want to move on to Bobby?
Yeah, we'll move on to Bobby.
We'll throw her a Bobby Bay.
And I think by extension we'll fold Alex into this conversation.
Yeah. Because they're tandem.
And their storylines are probably the most intertwined of any two characters.
Yeah. Yeah. And the build up for Alex's character going back to Mars has been there since season 2 at least. He's been talking about his family. He was worried about them when, Mars was going to be attacked by the protomolecule monsters. He's been trying to, have some type of relationship with his son.
And let me just say, for me, like, we're not going to dig into the Cass Anvar drama, okay?
No, we're talking about the characters.
We're talking about the characters, and Alex is a character in the show, and we'll say that. But there was a certain amount of me, I'm not going to lie, that felt great satisfaction at Alex being told to F off by his ex-wife, just because I'm like, yeah, screw you, Cass. That's all I'll say. I've got my dig in.
You're not the only person that said that. I've heard other.
Yeah.
That it was cathartic.
Yeah, that it was cathartic. And also, like, that he's getting played by this woman that he's trying to be romantic with on some degree. And I'm just like, yeah, screw you, man. That's all I'll say about that. Like, I think I'm going to try to be objective about the character in the story now. Mm-hmm. Anybody else want to get a shot in real quick?
I mean, he's not as charming as he thinks he is.
Can we just have just one moment to reflect on his choice of nightlife?
You mean the bar that he goes to?
The bar.
Oh, it's so good. The cowboy bar with saddles instead of
Oh yeah.
shoes and
Yeah.
And the Chinese version, the Chinese version of roll it.
Yeah.
that I appreciated that a great deal because, as we know, Mariner Valley has, some diverse influences.
Screaming Firehawk whiskey.
I do want to say, as far as focusing just on the character of Alex, what I found really interesting about this, how they present the whole thing with him, showing up at, his wife and son's home is that it's like such a middle of the road thing where, like, we love Alex as a character, so we we want him to be able to sort of repair his personal relationships, but at the same time, like, we understand that he kind of, deserves what's coming his way. So it's this very complicated feeling of this balance that makes that scene really sort of difficult to watch.
Because Alex deserves that too.
Because for slightly different reasons, in the sense that he sort of has a naivety about him as well.
He had a naivety about Mars in general.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is the first time he's been back in, years.
Yeah.
Well, and you see all the shops closing and everything's on sale, and who better to tell him, like, things are not the way you think they are, than have Bobby roll up in that place.
Mm-hmm.
Look down on the beer, not take a seat, tell him he's being an idiot, and then tell, I'm out of here. You're a moron to even try to fix this. It's beyond repair.
But everything's sort of thrown in his general direction, and he's dealing with it with this sort of chirpy optimism of, it's all going to be okay. And it's like,
well,
no.
But I think that's his way. I think he's by nature sort of, looked at things in a positive light, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It's just the whole thing is tough to watch because I think there's a part of him who is aware that he did something very wrong, but he still needs to try and work through it and try and do the best he can. Like, even when he says I love you to his son and he sees it's not returning, he makes the conscious effort to kind of brush past that because he understands that maybe he hasn't earned that yet. So it's like I said, the whole thing is just very tough to watch because we love Alex, but at the same time, we know and he knows that he's got this coming. And
he earned this.
Yeah,
and I love this. Bobby is disgruntled, so it's good he can play off of that. I think that's a very astute observation. Is to have those two are in different places emotionally. It's good to watch them bounce off of each other. Because Bobby is disgruntled, and given just how she's been interacting with everything going on around her, I would say she would much rather be gruntled. She does not appear to be having a good time this season so far.
No, and her introduction this season, she's out in the middle of nowhere, doing this shit. It's obviously doing some shady kind of deal. And I'm like, wait a second. I thought she, at the end of last season, she was done with all that and what she was going to, and then to find out that, oh yeah, she's working with my girl. She's
yeah, I love when she comes back with all that after making the arms deal, and she's like, call the old lady. And of course,
like, send a message to the old lady. I really loved that. It's like she's got that coded into the
yeah.
Like,
That's her call sign. That's her call sign, That's her military call sign now. Avasarala is the old lady.
The archangel, now it's the old lady.
Right?
What would annoy her more, Chrissy or the old lady?
Either or.
But So Alex does have a lot of emotional things to contend with, not only the falling apart of his family, but as we said earlier, the realization that Mars is not the Mars he left behind.
Yeah, I really love that moment when he just sort of looks up at the wall and looking at all those electronic signs and stuff, and realizing how bad things are, and that's when he decides to make another go of it with Bobby, maybe try and just try a softer tact with her. Of course, she's still feeling a lot of rage, so she still comes at him pretty hard, but I did like that moment of sort of self-reflection, and he realizes that stuff is really not going good.
That's
Yeah,
it.
and
But they captured it really well with that wall of holographic sort of for Red and for.
Yeah, the conversation that they have when he's going through all the things, like, she takes him to her spot, lets him in on what's going on, and he's like, well, he does the good Martian thing, he's still in that good Martian. You should call the police. You're dealing with Avasarala. She's from Earth.
And she's like, what? Didn't you watch season 4? Don't you know?
Dude, don't you know? Haven't you been watching the news clips?
I dealt with the police before in the criminal underworld.
But I spent a year in the underworld.
And again, both of those characters are sort of, they're Martians, but Mars doesn't like either one of them. Not really. Alex shows up at the War College, and that one admiral is basically like, I don't have time for you. You're basically calls him a traitor to his face. When he's trying to land and he's flying the Razorback,
it's not Tachi you came in.
Yeah, they're like, if you came in on the Tachi, we probably wouldn't let you land.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure is why he's like, I'm glad I'm on the Razorback then.
The scene in the War College was very good as well, though, between the lecture.
The lecture about asymmetrical warfare and asymmetrical power projection. Good stuff.
Yeah. But then as well, the idea of Mars not just as sort of a project to terraform Mars, but with the ring gates, sort of.
Yeah, like
to have it as an ideal beyond. To have it as an ideal beyond just the confines of the Red Planet.
He's only there because of the brain work that Avasarala has been doing and the leg work that Bobby's been doing. And he's only there because, like, hey, I know that guy. Maybe I can get in.
Yeah, I can talk to him. Sure. I know him.
I was a bus driver for him at some stage.
Yeah.
And that the assistant, the admiral's assistant, just plays him.
So well.
She just plays him like a fiddle.
But I was actually, given how sort of naive he is throughout the episode and stuff, I was rather impressed that when it's all done, Bobby's like, what'd you figure out? And I was like, figured out she's not interested in me. So at least was aware enough to realize that.
She's not that into me.
And then when he attempts to sort of fish for information, it's so blatantly awkward. Like,
well, he's not a trained intelligence operative. Her name, by the way, is Lieutenant Emily Babbage.
Yeah, Babbage. That's right. Yeah.
Babbage being a shout out to basically the inventor of the modern computer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good stuff. Bobby. So, like, she's going through some crap because she's clearly like, she has fully absorbed the lesson that Mars is dying.
Yeah. And
Alex
is just starting that journey,
Yeah,
she's well on her way.
But she is also like, behold, this is where I grow the field of all the shits that I can possibly give, and you will see that it is a barren field. She has no shits left to give about anything other than this weapons technology deal. And I really am looking forward to where that story plays out, because that's an Inaros, all of these storylines keep connecting back to Inaros in some way, be it
web.
I mean, Amos really not so much, but Avasarala, Bobby, Alex, Naomi, Holden stuff, which we haven't really touched on Holden yet, but all the stuff he's going through on Tachi, I'm 100%.
Well, I mean, as far as Amos goes, he's on freaking Earth, so it's leading to him.
It's the only character that is on Earth to experience the ground level of what's happening from the rocks.
Which, and that's the thing that really freaked me out on a second viewing. It's all the stuff that he's going through in terms of securing, the house for, for the, Charles for Charles to stay at and stuff. Does any of this stuff even matter? Because, if everything goes kaboom, so it's that kind of dread that's hanging over the whole thing. It's you're trying to get this stuff done, which is good. But in the end, is it all going to be futile? Because it's just everybody's going to be dead.
They're all going to be caught up in the churn, Yeah. Some are going to rise to the top and some are going to sink to the bottom.
Yeah.
I know it's very, very.
Bobby.
What I love about Bobby, though, is I love the details. I love the little details the Expanse puts into things. Not sure if you noticed that Bobby's live links were red.
Bobby's what was red?
On her visual pinboard. On her pinboard. All of her live links were red. All of her dead links were blue.
Oh, wow. That is the opposite of what most of us would think. But as a Martian, red is their color for sure. And that's a really neat point.
Yeah, no, it's just really because after that she met with that arms dealer, his thing turned blue.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe the story at the end of episode 3 is Alex and Bobby basically about to go chasing after this Lieutenant Babbage because she's going on a routine mission, and this is where all the arms deals are actually happening.
Can I just say her saying I need to grab something first just in case?
No, we know what that is.
Oh yeah. How great that they brought the Razorback back. I was so excited when I saw that ship. I'm like, yes, that's such a sexy ship. I love that ship.
And there's definitely room in the Razorback to pack a suit of power armor.
For 2 people and a power suit, because it's been done.
It's been done before. So I'm looking forward to that. I think the only main character we haven't really discussed yet is Holden. So Space John, no.
Which, can I just say, I really enjoyed his story primarily because he got to interact with different people. Because thus far the entire show, as we've said, we always have these core characters together, and then this was different. There were some different team ups for him, which I quite enjoyed.
Yeah, and he had to let Naomi go too, even amidst knowing what was going on with her. But even at that point, he is still Holden, even with the rest of the Roci crew around.
And I think Holden wins the first 3 episodes for the best line with I saw a button and I pushed it. Is that how
That's really how you walk through life, isn't it?
Yeah, that was a great line.
I mean, it's his calling card, He pushed the button. He did the thing.
But my favorite sort of well, maybe that is the favorite, but the second favorite moment with him really was when he's watching, the message he's got from Monica, and she's like, I haven't been completely honest with you, and he goes, I'm shocked.
Shocked. But I mean, how cool was it that we're okay? Here's another character that we haven't seen since season 3. She's not dead yet. Here she is. She's out there doing her thing, and she's gotten herself into, who does she go to? The only person she, her contact with about the proto-molecule, Holden. I've got an in with Holden. Let me see if I can get anything out of him. And it's like, oh,
this is off the record while we're recording.
Yeah, her
Yeah.
cyber eye.
Totally off the record.
And she's a really fun character to have back too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Monica. I really liked her in season 3. I've liked her a lot so far this season. And as much as they scared me that she wasn't going to make it. I'm just going to say, like, they literally had me going, crap, they're going to get there just too late.
Well, and especially when they had the wrong crate, I was like,
well,
oh shit.
Find her.
She's dead. She's dead. Yeah.
And then they do find her, and she's already like still not moving.
Yeah.
And that was such a great delivery by her when she's like, I'm not dead. And he says, you're not dead. And what did she say? It's
like, good job punching a hole so we can find you.
She's like, wow. Like, she totally expected.
Is that how they found her? Wasn't she?
It was something about they followed. It was either the vapor trail or the something she did, and the only thing she did was punch a hole in her shipping container.
Well, yeah, that's what they said. They wouldn't have been able to find her unless she did that. So
yeah,
I missed that because it was such a horrible scene when they pan back after she did that, and you just see all of these shipping containers in the middle of a hard vacuum, and it's like, oh dear.
This is not good.
Yeah.
But I love that she's like, I like her a little more this season. I didn't so much like her at the beginning of season 3. Actually, by the end of the season 3, she like becomes like a person. But she's just like this role that she has is like the intrepid reporter. It's kind of like a tropey type role, but it's a good role for her. She plays it really, really well. I get these like Lois Lane vibes,
Well, I also like
Lois Lane that will have sex with you to get a scoop, though.
Well, I mean,
tell me I'm wrong.
Season 3, I do love the line where she's walking away from home and goes, "We're gonna win so many awards."
Yeah.
No, see, like I couldn't stand that line just because like that's such a reporter thing to say. Sorry.
Reporters
burned by my years of working in the news industry.
Yeah.
Anything for a story, right? Anything.
Okay,
for
she's not a reporter. She is a documentarian.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I will say what's been really fun with her character so far this season is because there's been this rapport develop between her and Holden where like Holden knows she's full of shit all the time, and so like it's this fun little back and forth.
Yeah, she's about as forthcoming with Holden as Dumbledore is with Harry Potter.
Mm-hmm.
Are you done?
In one stream.
And how cool was it that we get the little clip that she has of one of our least favorite people is Kodazar, Kodazar. Mm-hmm. Another callback from,
Which that reminds me of something I wanted to say. Like, I'm really sort of impressed by the elements of the show and the fact that we spend so much time on series in the first season. And there's these characters established who you figure will sort of play a big role, throughout the series. But as soon as Miller leaves series in season 1, like we don't go back there. We don't see those characters again. And this is really the first glimpse of series that we've gotten since then. I really like that the story just kind of moves on from there. and you know, we occasionally hear it referenced, but we're not popping back in to, you know, to check in on that. I really like that about the show, that that it just kind of goes where the story needs it to go.
You know, when last we saw Kodazar, he was being taken by the Dawes faction, never to be seen again. And it's just been this sort of Damocles hanging over us. Like, we know they've got the protomolecule, the only surviving sample. We know that they've got the scientists that worked with it. What are they doing with it? You know, this can't be good.
I'm just going to say this again. I want me some more Jared Harris. Bring it back in.
Yes, I am hoping we're going to see something.Maybe not. I don't know if we're going to see him, if we're going to get a recording, if we're going to get a voice.
Yeah, it's like I know he's busy on another show, just a little bit.
I mean, he's running series right now. He's running series. Yeah. He's a very busy man.
Yeah, I mean, he is an in-demand actor as well.
But it's been ages I've read, but Dawes is a bit of a shadow. Moves over things, and the shadows projected with the likes of Ashford, or
his presence is felt.
His presence is always there. Like, you know, Dawes is always there in any machination.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, he's basically running all of the de facto overlord of all of the other OPA crews. You know, they all kind of like not answer to him, but kind of, you know, what Dawes says, he's kind of like the end of, you know, the buck stops there, other than the Inaros faction. He can't control him. So it's just very, and he's got, you know, he's got all this power, but this shadow figure, like you say, he's behind the scenes doing all these machinations that we don't know. So
this is a spoiler because I don't actually remember, but he probably has a finger in the Inaros pie as well.
Would not be surprised.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, I just kind of assumed that.
Yeah,
you know, he's the face, and Inaro's like the guy who does the things that he doesn't want to be seen doing. Just like,
but just in case Inaro's plans are successful or whatever, that he doesn't want to, but at the same time he wants to keep good with the inners as well, in case Inaro's is squished like a bug.
Yeah, he's playing both sides. You know, he's both sides of the OPA.
Whoever wins,
whichever works out,
Dawes is going to be part of the top that survives in his machinations. That's the way he would be planning it. In my mind, like,
yeah. I misspoke. He doesn't have the protomolecule. Fred still has that, right?
Maybe.
I think Fred still does. I think, but he does have the scientists.
I think that's the check and balance.
Yeah.
Because somebody literally just snatched up the scientist.
Yeah.
Isn't that what Monica was showing him?
Yeah.
And the fact that he's running around loose, you know,
and maybe Amy's just having too much influence on me, but like when they just walk out of the room and ignore her after that point, I'm like, patriarchy, just listen to her. Like, don't do the guy thing and ignore her, walk out of the room and have your conversations. Like, she brought this information to you, include her.
Well, there is that, but they're also trying to limit the amount of information spread, and that makes sense. But I also understand what you're saying, John. Like, don't cut her out. It's not a good look.
Yeah.
Yeah. Drink.
But trying to limit the spread of sensitive information is not patriarchy. It's good intelligence operations.
Well, I mean, they can't 100% trust her.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because Holden knows her for who she is.
Yeah.
You know, she's got her own purposes, her own, you know, her own agenda.
She wants an Emmy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh wow, y'all! It's been the full 2 hours.
I do just want to like ask one more thing, like the character of Bull, like what are we thinking about him? Trustworthy?
Oh yes, I think absolutely trustworthy, and I'll tell you why. Because there have been a few signals early on that he might not be. And I learned from Ashford, you assholes. I learned.
Yeah, I mean,
like
head of security.
It might even be slightly spoilery to say, so I guess I won't. But like,
yeah, don't. I don't like content previews, Steven.
Well, it's not a preview. It's more like it's about the book, the translation of the books to the show, because if they were doing accurate, he would have been there in season 1.
Okay.
But like a lot of the season 1 stuff,
like early on, I thought this guy's not going to be good news, but like I really liked the trio that's kind of developed between him, Holden, and Fred.
Mm-hmm.
So I very much hope he's on the level.
Yeah,
well, what I like about this is, oh, sorry, Nessie.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead. They could be fucking. They could be messing with us, in the sense that as a book reader, I have a certain perception of Bull, but that was wrapped into Drummer.
Yeah.
So they might introduce this Bull character, and you're thinking, okay, this is just going to be Bull from book 3, and no, it might not be a trustworthy stalwart figure.
Well, because it's like I just figure they're looking for this mole, and it's like this is a new character. It's like,
I mean,
traditionally he should be, a suspect, but I get that they may be playing on that convention to make us think that he, might be up to no good, and in actuality he isn't. So
he's so unlikable. The fact that he's being introduced in these first episodes as such an unlikable, grumpy.
Yeah, but he's unlikable. He's unlikable for the right reasons.
Yeah, he's very much like I am Fred's security man. I am project manager. I am this. We are getting things done.
But it's like when he's all like, no, you're going to stop getting special treatment. It's like,
no more free.
I'm like, good luck with that.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you, but like the fact that he wants Tycho Station to have another open berth and to not be practically giving away all these massive upgrades. I mean, of course he wants that.
Yeah, I mean,
I know, but what I'm saying is that I honestly don't know, sort of which way to go on him. But the more I see of him, the more I hope that he is completely on the level, that he's not a mole or anything like that, because I'm really growing to like the sort of, balance between those characters and, and what he's bringing to what the actor is bringing to the part. So,
yeah.
But that's what I love about this season is that they're staying incredibly faithful to the book, but at the same time, there's enough subtle differences, like this new Bull.
Yeah.
We don't. I'm still waiting with bated breath for episode 4, not knowing what's going to happen.
It's nice. That's really cool, man.
I know a lot of the stuff that's going to happen, but I don't know it all because they changed enough.
And can I just say, like, I'm really excited now that some people might be annoyed, but like I'm really excited that we get to now look forward to an episode a week for the show. It just adds like such a feeling of it being an event, because because season 1 through 3 I just binged,
Yeah.
And season 4, we got all at one time, and we were talking, we dove right in to talk about it. So I just pretty much sped through the episodes. I like that I'm going to get to enjoy this show now over a period of time. But at the same time, I think it was the right move to drop those first 3 episodes at once, because I feel like these 3
Get
episodes,
all the setup.
they told a story, sort of setting things in motion.
They did
And
a
I
really good
peeved because I was a big fan of the weekly. I wanted season 4 to be weekly because I want watch, geek out, watch reactors,
chew on it.
shows,
Just digest it slowly.
catch all the stuff that I missed, rewatch, and then new episode.
Yeah.
And to be able to have, whereas with season 4, I had to hide away from the Expanse community because I was either ahead or somebody else was ahead of me, and for the sake of spoilers, and that you couldn't have this communal.
I mean,
But you have people on IMDb giving 1 star to the Expanse now. They're like, oh, I love the Expanse, but I hate this. I hate the schedule drop.
And see, this is why, like, anytime anybody has ever pointed to IMDb scores as proof of anything, I'm like, no, the voters over there are so freaking petty about every little thing. So yeah.
So y'all, it has been 2 hours. There's no reason to stop the conversation. It's great, but Steven needs a restroom break.
You don't want to go for 4.5 hours, Steven?
And I might go smoke a little bit of a cigarette too while I'm out.
Intermission?
I'm going to take my phone. Guys, by all means, keep the conversation going. I'll be back shortly. I think one of the things, so we kind of went through the main characters and discussed their individual arcs and challenges they're facing, but we really haven't even touched on the big Inaros plot and how it's going to shape things going forward. So, y'all, I'm going to take a short break. I'll be back. I'm going to go to the restroom. Talk about whatever you want. There is enough. I'll tell you who wouldn't want to go for 4.5 hours. This guy. There is one reason that I will ever stream that long. If I was asked to do a charity stream, I would do that. But
or for Duck.
Say again?
Or for Howard the Duck.
Okay. Father, you're working really hard on never getting invited back.
Sorry. I have a tiny bit.
Yeah, if you didn't get, look, we invited you. No,
honestly, I think he's been pretty well behaved until now.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Potter's been great.
We knew we were going to get these kind of comments. I thought we might even get more than we have. But anyway, yeah, I'll be back shortly, y'all. Keep the conversation going. I'm going to be listening on my phone, so I'll be back shortly.
Yeah. Okay.
Just from my watching, there were just a few. I love the exchange with Amos and Eric in the office, though.
Oh, yeah.
Because you could picture Amos has become a big wig within the solar system, made a big name on the Rocinante, arrives back in Baltimore, and then sends a message to Eric saying, Amos Burton is back. Right?
Amos Burton needs to talk to you.
He needs to talk. And all you thinking is, damn, this guy's back, big name now, to muscle back in and take. And it's hinted at in the show, but when he's leaving the gun on the table to go get drinks. But in the book, it's not a spoil. But seemingly his whole office is incredibly well defended. That Amos,
he's got guns everywhere.
That Amos was a dead man at any moment if you want, and the gun was just. And I just love that you don't need to test me. I'm not here to take anything that's yours. And he just pushes the gun. I love that.
Yeah.
Well,
he knew exactly what it was. The fact that was his street smarts, his backed in his crime his street mode. You know, he was in street mode from the minute he touched down on Earth. You know, he was back in his element where everything, he knew the game.
Yeah.
He knew who was doing what. He knew who was dealing, who the crew was that ran that area. Yeah.
He scanned that whole scene and he knew exactly who to go to get a message to Eric.
Well, there's that moment where, you know, Amos says, you know, Charles gets to stay there, and Eric is like, is that all this is? Well, shit, why didn't you just say so? And then he says, well, drink on it. But there's still this feeling of like, something's, there's an uneasy feeling there, and it's not until Amos is like, you don't need to test me, and like once that's the other shoe that drops. It's like once that's out of the way, then I was like, okay, this might be okay.
but it can't be that simple. Amos Burden, this sociopathic street thug, doesn't come about housing for the elderly,
right? You know, and it's like I have to wonder if Eric has some kind of Sicilian in his background, because, you know, never, what's the line? Never something with a Sicilian when death is on the line or something.
I'm sorry, but you've just seen The Princess Bride for the first time. Are you really pulling a quote from that?
I tried, man. I tried. I'm throwing a little street cred out there. Little nerd cred.
But it is true, though. And he just turns and goes, this is really about the house, isn't it? Yeah. And he's like, you've changed. And he has. He's really grown as... And it's really interesting to see Amos without... And the other bit of Amos, the other scene, the tiny little scene, is where he empties out the ice onto the napkin.
Yeah.
For the guy that he beat earlier. He's like, yeah, we're friends. Here's some ice for that beating you got earlier. Whoever did that to you, sort of. And walking up the stairs, it's like, you're wondering how you're going to get out of this place. Like,
oh, you know, he had an exit strategy, but, you know.
But it's just so... But his character is so interesting, especially he's sort of Pinocchio with Jiminy at the moment. You know, I mean, this is Amos operating on his, you know, I mean, on his own, and by, you know, I mean, all the ethics and the morals he's picked up from Prax and Anna and Naomi and Holden, and no, I loved him in Baltimore, and I just loved Baltimore in general because it just felt it. I have only seen season 1 of it, but it just felt like The Wire, 23rd century.
Yeah, it's like it hasn't changed.
Yeah,
it's still, you know, run down, and it looks just gritty. You know, I was looking for any like sneakers thrown over, like you know, power lines or something. You know,
holographic ones.
Snake Plissken running through somewhere.
Snake Plissken running through.
And even the commuter trains, like
yeah, it's just like an updated version of, you know, of the L, you know.
Yeah. And just so many people. That's the thing, that the crowds and crowds of people.
Yeah, Joe S had a question about that, you know. I'll pull it up. Is there an explanation in the books why Earth is still so overpopulated centuries later, and Baltimore looks totally run down as a result of too many people living on Earth?
That one's easy. There's too many people there.
Well, but it's not like, you know, it's hundreds of years in the future. Haven't we figured out how to, like, control our population in some way? You know, haven't we figured out how to make it so that, you know,
because it's what, 30 billion, 27 billion or something on Earth?
Heroes back.
Yeah, it's totally just crammed with people.
It is 300 years in the future, though.
By the way, one of the things that I just remembered that I wanted to make sure that I talked about was...
Who's this guy?
Oh, hi, I'm Steven. Nice to meet you. when I was watching the behind the scenes, this isn't really a spoiler. I was watching the behind the scenes for episode 3, and they had Thomas Jane on because he's the director, and that's the after show with Ty Frank and Amos, or not Amos, and Wes Chatham, and they were talking about their shared love of the movie Alien, and Ty Frank said Alien was the #1 influence for writing The Expanse. And it's kind of started because in that film, there's a couple of people, I can't remember the characters' names, but they're like working on the pipes in the ship and they're treating it like a job. And it's, it's not the clean lines of the Federation. It was lived in space. And they're like, he wanted to write a story about those people who lived and worked in space. And it was just a job and it was just a lifestyle. And it was, just living their life out there. And you can see the fingerprints of Alien really all over this story if you think about it.
Yeah.
I think somebody cracked a joke once that what's the company in Alien?
Weyland-Yutani.
Yeah, Weyland-Yutani.
That was a Malkowski subsidiary.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, and Aliens, it's like it's a mining colony in space. Oh, yeah. What is the belt? But a mining colony in space.
But it just made me think about, because I know a couple of people, John included, who are huge fans of the Alien stories, and I enjoy them as I do enjoy them, but I'm not the super fan the way somebody like John and maybe Laura, who he had on, and Carol. Yeah. Who he had on for another Alien stream, and you can really see it, like
I love Star Trek, but other than Deep Space Nine, it tends to be very sanitized, very.
Yeah, I mean the thing about it, especially the first Alien, is just it has it's a sort of a carryover from also what was going on with Star Wars at the time, where you were presenting this sort of vision of space that was dirty,
gritty,
as opposed to the 2001 where everything's really super clean.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Federation's fixed their population problem,
and there's no poverty, and everybody listens to jazz,
yeah,
and classical music. Not dirty dance beats at a club.
Some people still listen to the Beastie Boys.
The music that they were playing on Drummer's ship.
I'm sorry, but I love sidetracked. Like I love that moment in Star Trek Beyond, I think it is, where they blast the Beastie Boys and they're like, what is that, classical music? I'm like, no, in no time is that going to be a thing. It's like, no, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Like I was saying, the music that they're playing on the ship where Drummer is, that while they're all working, it's just that techno belter beat, it's just blaring in the background while everybody's just going about their business. It's just, that's them, that's their gig.
Because people have described like The Expanse sort of dystopian, but it's not. It's just almost a projection of today.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Like, Star Trek is a very optimistic view of the future.
Yeah.
I feel like The Expanse is a very realist look at the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like we've solved some problems.
Yeah, I do. And this is, probably a different conversation, but I think both are equally valid. I think we as a society need both.
I agree.
We need something like The Expanse to sort of as a reflection of ourselves and sort of where we are in the world. But we also need those hopeful messages so that we have something to strive towards and hopefully make a better future.
This is what science fiction has always done so well, is it allows us to imagine the future for ourselves. And, it allows you to reflect the the struggles that we face in the world today by imagining what the future of either solving those troubles or not solving those troubles looks like.
Because I would actually like to live in either of those universes. I'd like to live in somewhere in between. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I
mean,
would
it's
love it
Right. If Star Trek comes along with the whole, beaming ourselves by disintegrating all our particles and reassembling them, that's not something I want.
Oh, no, but I'm not talking. I'm talking sort of on the societal.
The Star Trek transporter is literally a suicide machine.
But I don't like this idea of we're so evolved that we have alcohol, but has none of the. It doesn't get you drunk, and it doesn't get you. It's like.
See, and I'm perfectly fine with that.
You're just drinking it for the taste.
No, but you know what I mean. But it's just very overall. It's just very. Deep Space Nine is a bit of a deviation from it, which is why it's probably my favorite of the. But I like the.
I think Star Trek for me was always better when the conflicts were between characters. So like I don't fully subscribe to, Gene Roddenberry obviously very much cared about that we had left such, petty squabbles behind, but that doesn't make for very compelling drama.
Right. It's always about the conflict that we want.
But the thing is with the Expanse, and especially this season so far, is I can imagine walking through that Baltimore.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I would have out of place. I think I would feel out of place walking through Federation San Francisco.
Right.
I'd find that very weird, but I wouldn't find walking through I would see, oh, wow, cool, holographic billboards, or
you can go find a good Irish bar there somewhere. There's a pub on the corner that you will feel at home in.
And like, people are still flawed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, people are still people. With our pettiness and our goodness and our generosity and our selfishness, people are still people. And all these characters reflect that.
Yeah.
And it's not like we don't see any posh, living conditions for Earthers or Martians, but because it definitely does exist. There's still very much social stratification.
I mean, just look at Avasarala's gilded cage that she's in on Luna.
Or, you guys were talking about Eric and Amos when I was taking my pee break, and look at Eric's place. He's got a
Harley, man.
The outside looks like shit.
I think that's actually what makes the view of Baltimore sort of so shocking, is because the other stuff we've seen, like when we're with Avasarala on Earth and stuff, and seen these other places, we have seen a lot of polish. And then we see Baltimore, and the fact that it looks pretty much exactly like, Baltimore today. It's like, oh, geez.
Everybody's not reaping the benefits that all of the advancements have given, society.
But it also gives you an insight into Holden as well, because his place is very swanky out in Montana.
Oh yeah, he's like a homeschool kid, with a trust fund.
And there's a certain naivety, like as Amos often says to people, you and I have very different upbringing, very different histories.
Holden's
and it says, you and I have had very different life experiences.
Yeah, and when Holden's talking to Fred, Fred's trying to tell him, hey, you get a life, basically.
Make a farm.
You came from a farm, right? Go farm something. And he's like, I don't want it,
Yeah, Holden is definitely Space Jon Snow.
I don't want.
I gotta be honest. At this point, Holden might be a better character than Jon Snow in my mind. I mean, that's a whole other
rounded one.
That's a whole other thing, and we will get back to. We've done a lot of character analysis for the Expanse, and Holden is not a character that we've done, and we'll get to him eventually.
Well, I do want to say that I just liked what he was Holden was going through for these episodes, this feeling of, the quiet and the isolation. And when he's on the Roci and he notices that it's super quiet and everybody's gone. And it's just a really great moment for him.
And he just starts to close the coffee cup, like, not sort of angrily, but just sort of like taps it away in frustration. Like, so who's read? I know you haven't, Stephen. And Nessie, have you read Nemesis Games?
I've read some of it, and I've also read the Vital Abyss.
Okay. So no, I was just curious. What do you hope to see coming from this, or any speculation, or like non-spoilerish, or is that too spoilerish for?
Well, I'm just ready for the action to kind of ramp up a little bit, which I know it is, and we're going to be racing towards something by the end of the episode, by the end of the season, and it's going to be big. We've got all like these little pieces. We've got these little pieces, parts. I heard one reference that I was like, oh, that's something. When Fred's talking about the other ship that he's building, they're looking out at this other project. It's like, the Free Navy.
I can actually place that in my head, and I'm like, that's probably a reference to something. That said, it's been a few years since I've read. I meant to read it this year before this landed, but I sort of decided against it then.
Yeah, but he was talking about he said something. I think it was the Free Navy was what he said. That ship that was being built there at Tycho Station, the new ship. That's the other project that they're working on with the new technology and everything for the belt. The Belter Navy.
Yeah. Okay, guys.
That wasn't a spoiler, John. That was in the show.
I'm just playing it safe.
I mean,
there was no spoiler there.
There was no spoiler. Just talking about a scene that was in the second. No, I think the second episode. I think. Okay. But yeah, it's like there's a lot of pieces that are starting to kind of fall into place. So,
John, how about yourself? Somebody totally like, what would you like to see, or are you just taking it purely as it's given to you?
I guess the only thing that I sort of really hope, going back, circling back around to Drummer, who, we talked about in the beginning, I have very bad, hair standing up on the back of my neck for her story, because it feels like it's set up for tragedy. And I do want to see her go and help out Naomi, and, and hopefully, keep her from making some mistakes, which I think that are almost inevitable, because, you're just going to, as we've said, before, have blind spots when your child is concerned. So I think Drummer is going to be a good person to have in her corner, but I also worry because they've set it up to where she's made this decision to walk away from this stuff now, and she's obviously going to change her mind on that. Otherwise, there wouldn't be a story. And I just worry about what that means, because it does feel like it's that sort of classic, and I thought I was out and they pull me back in. So I'm very worried about her. So I hope that she's all right. Otherwise, I don't know. The other stuff, I'm just kind of letting the story unfold where it will.
I could not disagree more.
They're also kind of setting up this Admiral Delgado, because he's like, Bobby's working out her little tree thing, her pins or whatever, and he's like, you have to be.
You're thinking Saboteur.
The Martian.
That's Saboteur. My Delgado's the
Delgado.
Okay, Saboteur. Okay, yeah, Saboteur. He's at like the top of the food chain of where all these, the arms deals and whatever are kind of connected. So I'm interested to see. He's kind of being built up as like her nemesis in the upcoming this season. So yeah, and that speech that he's giving at the War College, we get, it's like the end of his lesson. He's pontificating, but they're talking about the ring gate itself, and it's like, okay, we're going to have a lesson on tactics about how this is a pinch point. This is how you would deal with something like this, using like, oh, so you're kind of projecting the ring gate and the situation now as your enemy. How would you set up how to strategize in this type of situation? So it kind of like, he's a bad guy. He's talking about, the ring system, the ring station and everything is like, okay, how would Martians, how would we as Martians viewing
Control
this
it militarily.
Yeah. So I'm like, that's kind of very interesting that he's talking. He's like, remember all these things that, I'm telling you. So,
Stephen,
yeah.
what were you disagreeing with me so vehemently?
I just think that if Drummer is against anyone, Drummer's not the one I'm worried about in that setup. You're like, I'm so worried about Drummer. I'm like, are you kidding me? Drummer's going to crush all opposition that comes her way.
Yeah, but I think it's sort of the hazard of watching so many movies and shows that I recognize like dramatic setups.
Yeah, I do too, and I understand where you're coming from, and I'm being a little flippant about it.
Yeah, I have total faith in the writers because I knew Drummer was going to slide into the power, however you say it, role, but I could not in a million years see how she was going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, tiny book spoil, like, How starts out as sort of within the Inaros faction. I'm like, how's Drummer going to end up being? She can't throw her hat in with, and this and that. But they ended up setting her little crew, her little faction up so well, and they just wrote it so well in just one episode. And they just laid it and just gave a real feel to it that I have such good faith that they're going to deliver a great storyline and one that's probably going to catch me off guard, despite having, as I said,
one can hope, right?
I just, while we're talking about Drummer, also I want to just say one more thing about Ashford, which was that something that I really liked about the way they played out. Using like his recording from the end of last season, the whole thing gave me a very Ned Stark and Baylor feeling, where they gave him in the show that moment of victory where he's able to say to what's the one Night's Watchman's name?
Yorick,
where he says Baylor, and that causes Yoren to look over and see Arya. So it's like that sacrifice, that that horrible taking away of this great character, but they get their victory, and that's Ashford getting his message out. And
is Ashford Space Ned Stark?
Maybe.
Yes. Yes.
What's the term? Hieratic victory, isn't it?
A Pyrrhic victory?
You know better than myself, John. Like, what's
Pyrrhic victory.
a paretic victory? Like, going down in flames, but in doing so,
it's Pyrrhic victory.
Pyrrhic. Oh, that's
Okay.
Yeah, it's like too many more victories like that, and we'll lose the war.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, just hearing like his voice and then knowing that message is being, sent out to the right people. Maybe too late, but it's still a small measure of victory, and it makes me happy.
We even
And
got
it just shows the depth of their friendship too. That she knew him well enough to know there's a second set of data tapes somewhere on the ship. There's something here. It's hidden. He's a pirate at heart. He's got to have, he's got his little hidey hole. We just got to find it. I've got to think like him. So when she's off by herself, she goes to check that and she sees the thing out of place. She's like,
But that scene where that was devastating though, when you saw her drop the mask. And she's like, oh, maybe we'd be drinking this bottle together if I had gone. Like, you could just see her devastated by his loss.
Yeah,
even the scene where she finds the tapes, and when she turns on that message, the acting going on there, like you can see how emotional she is just listening to that.
I have a question.
And her anger too.
Yeah. Did anyone catch the name? Did they drop the name of her ship?
Ooh.
Because I saw it on the screen, but I suspect that's a nod to that's the name of the equipment. Which
DeWalt is the name of her ship because it is on the screen. DeWalt is the name of her ship.
Is it? Because they're like the tool makers now, aren't they?
Yeah, they make like power tools.
Yeah, they're like the general contract. Like it's in the contractor tool bag. Every contractor that I've ever known has had the DeWalt contractor kit in their work truck or whatever. It's
So I wasn't sure if DeWalt was the name of her ship or if it was the name of the DeWalt are making like comms units for ships now.
No, there was a title card when they were rolling up on Ashford's ship, and it said these two names, the DeWalt and the Mautang.
Oh, okay. Good, because I was
Buzz, Nacho, and Joe S. You guys were really quick with that information. Appreciate it.
Yeah, because I was dreading because in the book the Michab House was the Connacht, but
the comment. Yeah.
But Jefferson May is the audio. Cannot.
I was gonna say I'm pretty sure the pronunciation is Connacht.
Yeah, but through the whole book I had to look it up. I had to look up the spelling. I'm like, is he saying what I think he's saying? Because I'm like, is it the comet? And it's like, no, the cannot. And as an Irishman, it really irked me.
I just really appreciate that I got to try to correct your pronunciation of an Irish word. I'm sure I'm
well,
but it was nonetheless. Y'all, I've got you. I can't sit here for much longer, y'all. I am running out. It's 2 hours and 40 minutes we've been going, which is a testament. I love this show. Normally, after 2 hours, I'm like, I'm just got to be done. It's part of the whole ADD thing, But this show,
stories need to be told and finished.
Yeah, and it's worth. This is one of those shows that, like, it doesn't really bother me to go over, but my butt is getting tired. I'm out of coffee.
I will just like as a last thought say, kind of going back to what I was saying earlier about the good thing about having these shows, the season dropped and an episode a week, and even though we won't be doing weekly coverage, we are getting to tackle like fewer episodes at a time. Mm-hmm. And I really like that we got to dive into some details with characters and stuff that I don't think we necessarily managed last year. So I
journey together. at the same pace, generally speaking, within a week, within a few days of each other, that we're taking the journey together and not binging it over 2 days at different times and this and that. So that's I like.
I'm looking forward to be scheduled as well.
I'm old school.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I really love that they're salvaging Ashford's ship, and Ashford's ship is going to be part of taking out, part of the revenge. Or
I never even thought of that. Yeah, because they did salvage it. They didn't.
They were not leaving it. No way. They're like, now we got 3 ships.
Yeah,
it should be like rename the Revenge, Ashford's Revenge or something.
But any other points everybody wants to make?
Wait, is it Wednesday yet?
At all? Do what?
Is it Wednesday yet? That's my only point.
Right. I am very much looking forward to whatever is coming next. I'm not really sure what our schedule is going to look like covering the rest of the season, but I'm going to guess we'll be back in about 3 weeks, maybe 4, to cover whatever's been released. I'm going to go with, I hope, 3. We'll see. I love this show. I dig into it more than anything else that we do. I'm more invested in it than anything else we cover. It is what it is. It's my favorite show on TV right now. I think it's my favorite science fiction show I've ever seen. It's in my top 5 all-time TV shows, no matter genre. I absolutely adore this show, and I cannot wait to talk about it some more in a couple of weeks. 3 weeks, maybe. We'll see.
I'd wonder when I see Buzz Nacho, a shout-out needs to be made for Fish Finder 5000, man.
Okay.
The poor guy just fishing.
Yeah.
At the end of the episode.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I'm like, what the heck? The guy in South Africa who's watching the fish through his, Yeah. And I agree. Like, next week we're going to pick up from, there was just an asteroid impact or a meteor impact that basically wiped out a city. And they're going to have no idea how many more are coming, when they're coming, or anything,
It's like, as much as I'm like happy about the fact that, as I said, that we're getting an episode a week and we're going to get to sort of draw this out and really live with the show for, a number of weeks. At the same time, I'm like, oh God, this next episode is going to be rough to just have one episode and then we have to wait again. It's like, I've gotten so used to having this constant influx of Expanse material, and now I'm going to have to deal with one episode. So it'll be tough, but it'll be worth it.
Yeah.
It'll be delicious.
There's pluses and minuses to both ways, and I think I like the happy medium they found, where they give us a big chunk to start with, and now they're going to let us sort of parcel out the rest at an even pace. And we'll be back soon. And fingers crossed, we'll have some. Potter, you have been an excellent guest, but we've made a lot of friends on this channel through the Expanse and had a lot of friends come on to talk about it. I've been hoping to have one of our old school contributors come back for the Expanse. We'll see if we can get her to join us. Potter, might have you come on for something that's not the Expanse at some point. Maybe if we do a Howard the Duck stream or something.
I don't like Howard.
Do what?
With it. It's just good troll material.
Yeah. But it's been a real joy having you, my man. You do have really great insights. You do understand the story very well. You obviously love it. And, that's what we're here for is nerds talking about the stuff that they love. So it's been a joy, my friend. It really has.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah. So come back again soon. That being said, I'm ready to wrap up, y'all. I'm
stay there. It's a long day.
Yeah, it's after midnight for you, Potter, isn't it?
It's nearly 2:00.
Nearly 2 in the morning. So yeah, we're gonna let you go get some sleep. So that being said, thanks everyone who came. We're gonna wrap up now. So I have been your host, Stephen. Thanks for coming. Come back next week. We will be talking about the last 3 episodes of The Mandalorian. If you have not seen it yet, I'm not going to spoil it now. I will say I loved the end of the season. John did not. I didn't hate it.
I didn't.
I mean, we've had a little bit of conversation, and we're saving the real meat of that conversation for next week. But
and I do want to make sure I'm going to probably go through and watch the whole season again. I want to see how the ending sits with me, kind of taking everything in, and so I will save my final verdict for after that point.
Right. But anyway, so come back next week for Mando. The week after that, I am out of town for my brother's wedding, so I'm not sure if I'll make it back or not. We'll see.
Hey, John, Dad's going to be gone. We got to throw a party.
Well, so he says.
Yeah, I might be gone. I probably will. I will probably be home in time to stream, but I just don't know.
And we might, and Stephen won't be here, but we might see Sansa Best pop up in the chat.
You might see. That you might see her for sure. So next week, Mando. John, tell us what's next on your channel. We're at the end, and I'm not trying to keep everybody, but just what's next?
Yeah, next Saturday, we're moving back to 7 p.m. Eastern on John Webster Film. And this coming Saturday, we'll be talking about The Muppet Christmas Carol. And then the week after that, we'll be doing Wonder Woman 1984. So stop in for both of those.
Sounds good. Nessie, what's the next thing coming up on the Unspun Yarn?
Next Wednesday, December 30th, we're going to have our next BTP episode. We've got some great guests lined up. So come on in, pour your beverage of choice, and just hang out for the chat and the great conversation that I'm sure we're going to have on transphobia and turfism.
Right on. Potter, once more, from the whole Here Be Dragons crew, thank you for bringing your insight and your passion to this stream. I know you don't really do the content thing, and you're not really on social media as far as I know. So nothing to plug there.
No, not at the moment, at least.
you
But
might have a MySpace account. I'm not sure.
Yeah, right.
Evo.
Okay.
I just think it's isn't it like a real personal victory that we've gotten to this point where we got Peadar on the stream, because like once upon a time we were trying to coach him into the Slack, and even that was that was a journey.
Kicking and screaming.
Yeah. So we'll get your LinkedIn profile down there in the description, and So again, I have been your host, Stephen Stark, for my co-hosts John and Nessie, and for our special guest Peadar. Thank you so much. Oh, Sean, love you, buddy. I'm sorry you missed it. I saw earlier you said work was a weird one today. I hope you enjoy the rewatch. But yeah, you know what it is, everyone. Until next time, peace and be excellent to each other.